Now then, it's Burnsy, and welcome to our regular Curiosity podcast, the CuriosityCast. Every episode, we take questions asked by members of the public in Hull and try and get them the best answers from the very best brains in the city. Not all questions are about Hull. They can be about whatever you want to discover, so do get in touch with us. For this episode, we've gone walkabout again and wound up in the hallowed hallways of Hull Truck. Well, we're in a meeting room, but it's rather fancy. We're here because downstairs they're currently rehearsing a new production of Macbeth by an up-and-coming playwright from the West Midlands called Billy Shakespeare. You can tell Dave's been involved in this. You might have heard of him. Joining us today is one of the cast, actor Benjamin Wilson, who plays Ross in the play. So to get him in the mood, let's see what he makes of this. Dave's definitely written this. And for an earnest of a great honour, he bade me from him call him the Thane of Cawdor, in which edition, hail, most worthy Thane, for it is thine.
Very
Benjamin,
good.
have I got the gig?
I mean, worryingly, they're my lines, and you do them better than I do. So if you've got the gig, that means I'm out of a job.
No, sorry, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to anybody.
Well, very good. Yeah, I mean, your mic technique is amazing. The whispering close to the microphone. Yeah, got me going. That's great.
Yeah, well, professional broadcasting careers
Absolutely.
somewhere along the line. How are you anyway? How's it going? Because you're in rehearsals.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we speak, we're in the final week in the rehearsal room. So it's all starting to come together. But it's also the squeaky bum time of I've got to really to know my lines by now and all that sort of thing. But it's going really, really well. At the end of last week, we had our sort of our first run through the whole play, and it was looking and sounding really, really good. It's really exciting. So the next stage of the process is to get into the theatre itself, get all the lighting and the sound and the set involved, and then we can get some people in and hopefully everyone will enjoy it. But yeah, it's going really, really well.
We'll come back to the lines and your part in a minute, but give us the big picture of Macbeth and this particular production of it.
Absolutely. So Macbeth is essentially the story of a man, Macbeth, in a war-torn country who is a war hero returning from war. And when he's returning from war, he stumbles across three witches, as you do. Happens to me every day, don't know about you. And they make a prophecy that one day he will be king. And that sort of sets off this series of events, that sort of ambition that sparks in him and his wife. And the two of them start to plot and plan how they can make that happen. And a series of horrible, bloody murders and all kinds of dramatic twists and turns start to take place. And really what our version is leaning into is the fact that this is a war-torn country, that everyone is suffering. We're doing it in sort of modernish dress. It's sort of timeless dress. It looks like a modern conflict. It looks like it could be Ukraine at the moment, or Gaza, or the protests in Iran, or any of those sort of modern sort of conflicts that we're experiencing at the moment, and really exploring what that does to people. What does it do to the psychology of people when you've spent years living in the horrors of war? And that's what we're really exploring. And then the sort of psychology of what that does to people and how that affects particularly the Macbeths, and then how their actions and the bloody murders that they partake in, and what that does to the rest of the people they're surrounded by, and the implications on their lives and the consequences of their actions and all that sort of thing.
So it was written in the 1600s, so it's travelled down the years then. It's still relevant.
Yeah, I mean, depressingly so. Particularly the stuff about war and violence. Like there's one bit of my text that I really, really enjoy, which I won't bore you by doing the whole speech, but it really...
Well, bore us some and do some of it then.
Well, the bit that I really like is it's my lines are, "Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother, but our grave, where nothing but who knows nothing is one seen to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rent the air are made, not marked, where violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy." I love that line, I love that little speech, because it's about that bit about violent sorrow becoming a modern ecstasy, and sighs and groans and shrieks at the end that are made, not marked. It's about how there's all these terrible things happening, but we've sort of become numb to them. And that first line, "almost afraid to know itself," I think about that when I'm saying that line. I think about how everyone at the moment says to me, "Oh, I just can't bear to watch the news at the moment. It's just so depressing." How we're all just try to switch off from the horrors of the world because we can't process it, and how the first time we saw these horrible things happening in a war zone, it was shocking and horrible, but now we're depressingly so used to seeing them that we've become numb to them. And to me, that's what that speech is about, which is terrifying that it was written 420 years ago or whatever, and still feels as real and relevant and human now as it did then, because we haven't learnt.
Oh, brilliant.
It's very true.
And also,
Producer Dave?
Ben's reading of it, knocked yours into a cocktail. I mean, I think you're firmly in the understudy role.
Well,
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, if you fancy being my understudy, then maybe the day after our opening night, so I can have a couple of extra beers, and someone else can go on the next day. I wouldn't be furious.
So, are you living the life then, or is there a strict regimen to this whole acting lark and what you're doing in Macbeth?
We've been relatively sensible on this show. I mean, at this point, it is like when you get into the last week of rehearsals and into tech rehearsals, that's sort of the hardest bit of the job. So this is the part where we're working hard. I'm really looking forward to the show being open. We're really comfortable with it, and then maybe after the shows and things, we can enjoy some of the best pubs and bars in Hull. So I'm up for recommendations as well. If there's a pub in Hull that we definitely need to try, or a bar or a restaurant.
That's the problem with trucking it. There's no decent pubs nearby. They're all a walk, aren't they?
Yeah.
Let's pray this one in the station happens.
Ooh,
Because they keep talking about it, but it's not happened yet. But these, you want to get yourself down to Clarence.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah,
Clarence is not only is it fantastic, I've got shares in it.
Oh, well, it's slightly biased, but I'll take it.
Which is about the closest decent pub, I think.
That's true.
Yeah.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Always.
I've got one as well.
Have you?
It might be the same one.
It's like a normal episode of the Curiosity Cast. Why is Macbeth referred to in acting circles as the Scottish play? Why do people not refer to it as Macbeth? You've already done it this morning.
I'm not a particularly superstitious guy. I don't necessarily go in for those superstitions, but I do think it's really interesting because no one really knows why Macbeth is considered bad luck. There's loads of theories, and some of them are great. There's the classic one that it's about witches, it's about fates and curses and all that sort of thing. So when that sort of material is involved, people tend to think it's, there's bad luck comes along with it. There's also, I think, historically, if you go back, there were a few productions of Macbeth where sort of bad things happened around it. Maybe there were some sad, people passing away or some injuries and things like that. But the theory that I love about why Macbeth is considered bad luck is because back in the day of rep theatre, when you were, as an actor, you would have been employed over a long period of time to do a number of shows. Everyone used to say, if you heard the word Macbeth being mentioned by the theatre managers, it's meant the theatre was struggling financially, because Macbeth always sells tickets. So if you hear the word Macbeth being whispered about, you're like, oh no, they must be struggling, we might not be being paid this week.
So whatever production the rep had been doing has bombed, and so they stick Macbeth on.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's very good.
In that case, what's the enduring attraction of Macbeth?
Well, I think it's a few things. One, it's some of Shakespeare's most beautiful language and iconic language. If you think about, is this a dagger which I see before me, or tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, there's these beautiful speeches that have gone down in history and are really looked upon very fondly. So it is some of Shakespeare's most beautiful language. I also think of the great Shakespeare plays, it's one of the ones that is, one, it's short compared to some of them, which is nice, but also it moves really quickly. It's really plot driven and has it from the minute go, really, from the first scene onwards. It's go. It's all action. It's
so it's like the Die Hard of Shakespeare
in a way. I mean, but I think it is sort of that. It's the who doesn't love some creepy witches casting spells, and then who doesn't love that there's a big fight at the end between a goodie and a baddie? Who doesn't want that? And the goodie wins. Spoiler. No one.
But foreign Spoiler. I think we get over it.
Yeah, but so I think it is that. I think it's fascinating subject matter, like I said before, that still feels really relevant today. But also, it's that beautiful language, and it's the fact that it's so action packed, it's so fast paced, it's so dramatic, and has these incredible twists and turns. And I always think about like Breaking Bad or something like that, and the things that have been inspired by Macbeth, because it takes this man who starts off as a good bloke, as a war hero, as a husband who him and his wife have been through difficult times, because they talk about losing a child and things like that. And so it's a really relatable, good character, and then you slowly watch him deteriorate and what the world does to him, and by the end he's this monster who's killing people left, right and centre and leading, being a war hero. And I think that is a fascinating story, and like I said, there's cool witches and a great fight at the end. So
great. Can I do my daft question?
Yeah,
I was saving it. We were building that up for the second half.
I'm going to share with you because we were discussing this outside and neither of us knew. What's a thane? Is it like a prince or a landowner? What is it?
Exactly. So it's like a lord, like a. Earls is what replaced thanes, I think. And I think at the very end of Macbeth, Malcolm says, "You're no longer thanes, you're now earls." So it's like an older. Earl, I think, is the French word. Like when William the Conqueror came over and made everything French. Yeah. That word Duke and Earl and all that comes from France, whereas Thane is what I think predates it in sort of Old English and British and Scottish.
There you go, Dave.
Educational. It's the Curiosity Cast. Talking of education, Jim in HU5 in the Avenues might have been like me at the back of the class trying to get his head around Shakespeare. Jim says, I'm struggling with it, but does Shakespeare ever get any easier to understand?
That's a really good question. I think it does. Like you guys, when I was first introduced to Shakespeare at school, I wasn't a massive fan. And I think it's partly, hopefully it's changed now, but when I was at school, I think it was partly how it was taught, because the worst way to experience Shakespeare is to look at a piece of paper and look at the words and try and read it and make sense of it. The best way to understand it is to hear it read by actors and hear it out loud, and then to watch it in a play, watch it in the context of a set and costumes and sound design and music and all these things that give you the context you need to understand it. And I remember for me, I grew up in Greater Manchester, in Stockport in South Manchester, and when I was doing my A-levels, we went to see As You Like It at Manchester Royal Exchange, and that for me was a moment where I was like, oh, I get it now. When there's good actors performing this language and there's a beautiful set and there's great music and all that sort of stuff, it gives me the context I need to really then enjoy this poetry and sit back, relax and enjoy it. And yes, I think that for me is what has made me fall in love with it. And I find when I watch Shakespeare, it takes me a couple of minutes. It takes me a few minutes of sat there in the audience going, oh, the language isn't making any sense. And then after a few minutes, something in your brain, when it's good actors, I think, reading it and performing it, there's something in your brain that clicks into place and goes, oh, suddenly I get it now. Suddenly I'm in this world and suddenly I understand what's going on.
I'm the exact opposite. I've tried over the years, I'm like Jim, I've tried over the years to try and understand Shakespeare. I've done my best. I've seen the films. We did Julius Caesar at school and I actually quite liked it. It was great. Yeah. But I found when I lose the plot, when I'm watching it on stage and I lose the plot, that's it, I'm out for the rest of the show. It's kind of like, and I hate it when they're talking the back of the rand and they suddenly do 7 pages of plot. And you can't hear it. God, I'm lost, I can't remember who's killed who now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I think that's just bad acting. I think
that's true enough. True enough, it could be on bad direction. It needs to be sensitively adapted, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do. And I do think that's why Macbeth is one of the better ones to help people get into Shakespeare, because some of them have like A plots and B plots and C plots and complicated, you're like losing track of who's that now, how's he fit into that?
Exactly that,
whereas Macbeth, it is just one plot that keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And sure, there are supporting characters, but they're all playing into the bigger Macbeth plot. So I think that's another reason I think Macbeth is one of the popular ones, is that it is one of the ones that's easier to follow and grabs you and keeps you moving.
It is Die Hard.
It is. I think it's Breaking Bad meets Die Hard.
Die Hard, but not in a skyscraper. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Die Hard in a bog.
Well, some 400 years of Shakespeare, and it's come to this.
Yeah, but we're full of modern references in the rehearsal room. We're talking a lot about our films, more films like Black Hawk Down or Saving Private Ryan. We've been talking a lot about them. And then for me and my character, I've been talking a lot about Neville Longbottom in the Harry Potter films. That's what I was talking about the other day, because he's sort of a bit of a coward and a bit of an idiot that they all take the mick out of, and then at the end he gets a moment where he stands up and gets to be a bit of a hero. And so I referenced him as a bit like when Neville Longbottom standing up to Voldemort at the end of the Harry Potter films.
Well, never seen him.
Yep.
Oh dear. I should say at this juncture, before Dave torpedoes this Curiosity Cast, this is the Curiosity Cast. The voices you can hear, I'm Burnsy. Dave Lee is the producer and the evil mastermind behind Curiosity, and Benjamin Wilson is our special guest today. We're in the meeting room at Hull Truck, where a production of Macbeth is running from the 5th to the 28th of February. I'll remind you also, you can send us your questions on anything you want to talk about and anything you want us to investigate on Curiosity, either in the next podcast or in the content you can find on the Curiosity social feeds. So message us at www.curiosityhull.co.uk or find Curiosity Hull on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and Blue Sky.
Let's get W.
You missed the
W.
I missed a W.
Say W now, and I'll edit it in.
W now.
No, God.
Just leave that in.
Oldies are the best.
Oh, please, mate, don't leave it in, don't worry.
All right, okay. WWW.
I'm not going to edit it.
Sounds like wrestling. I know. Anyway, let's move on. Back to Benjamin Wilson. You were talking about going to see Shakespeare as a kid. Did that inspire you to want to become an actor, or you had that ambition earlier?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I was one of those kids that really liked it when I got to do drama at school, and my mum tells me that when I was about 6 years old, I'd like to go to an after-school drama club, like the little nerdy kid that I was. So I always liked performing and always liked getting the opportunity to perform and do all that sort of stuff and do school plays and those sort of things. But yeah, there was a particular period for me it was when I was doing my A-levels and my college got us cheap tickets to go see stuff at Manchester Royal Exchange regularly, which was great. That's a great theatre. I like Hull Truck. It's a beautiful regional theatre that has a great connection to its community. And I saw a series of shows there that were like, whoa, wow, you can do this. This is amazing. And you can do this for a job. This is brilliant. And so, yeah, that really did help light a fire in me. And actually, this is a good story. There's a particular moment for me that sort of inspired me to give it a go and go professionally, and maybe help me fall in love with Shakespeare a bit more. As my sort of education, I went to the University of Huddersfield to do a drama degree, and then after that I went on to do a master's degree at Birmingham School of Acting, which is now called Birmingham Royal Conservatoire. So one of the fancy drama schools that trains actors. But the University of Huddersfield at that point, their chancellor was Patrick Stewart.
That's right,
yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah, which was amazing. And so he would every couple of years or so come and do a Shakespeare workshop with some of the drama students. So one year I got to do a Shakespeare workshop with Patrick Stewart.
Wow.
And he was really, really lovely and really, really nice. And at the end of it, took me to one side and said, "Ben, that was really, really great. I could listen to you all day," is what he said to me. And so that was a moment. It was wow, maybe I could give this a go. And so the Shakespeare monologue that I did with him that day, I then used to go and audition for drama school and got in, and that sort of gave me the confidence to give it a go. And maybe that's why I'm here now, thanks to Patrick Stewart.
It was because he did a lot of Shakespeare, didn't he?
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Although I watched him last night in Excalibur, and he had hair.
What?
I know.
No,
It was one of his rare hairy performances.
Yeah.
I think it's quite
Not
early.
his own.
Yeah.
No, his own. Yeah,
Was it?
He was baldy on top, but he hadn't started shaving the sides yet.
Wow. As a man whose hair is thinning and receding, he gives me hope that you can be.
Trust me, Benjamin, I'm much older than you. There's no hope for us. There's no hope.
The listeners can't see my flowing lot.
Yeah, okay. Slapheads of the world, unite. I've got to ask you this. It actually comes in from Dawn in HU8 in Garden Village. Are there any specific difficulties for visually impaired actors? You are blind, but weren't always so.
Yeah, absolutely. I went blind in my early 20s. It was just after I'd graduated from drama school, so a couple of years after that Patrick Stewart experience. And yeah, so basically I've spent since then my career being a blind actor out there in the industry. And yeah, the honest answer is yes, there are lots of challenges. There's an old saying, an old adage about the job of an actor is to your job. You've got to remember your lines and not walk into the furniture. Oh. That's your job. And I'm very good at remembering my lines. I'm less good at not walking into the furniture. That's the bit I find slightly harder. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual process of acting, of being on stage or being in the rehearsal room or being on a film set or whatever, I like to think of it that every actor has a different process. Every actor works in a slightly different way and has slightly different bits and things that they always try and do. And for me, that's just some actors like to learn their lines before they come into rehearsals. Some actors like to do it in the final week. Some people in the room, don't speak to them until they've had their coffee. Some people like to get in early and do a warm-up. Some people like to arrive last minute. Well, everyone has a different process. Everyone does things at a different time. And I just have a couple of extra jobs that I do. And normally it's about getting to know the set back to front, inside out, like the back of my hand, so that I can confidently and comfortably walk around that stage without having any worries that I'm going to get lost or anything.
Can I ask, do the other actors, are they aware of your movements? So if you do come into grief, they can kind of take care of you?
Yeah, and what's so helpful about one of the important things is having a lovely, supportive cast and company who can, we all look out for each other in different ways, and everyone knows. There was a moment during one of our rehearsal rooms the other day where I got trapped behind a wall that had been unhelpfully added in and no one had told me, and, which was really, really helpful. But yeah, two of the cast helpfully came over and helped me out, and I was able to grab hold of them, and they were able to put me back into the reposition. Do you want to dox the
stage manager and give
it was not the stage manager's fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was probably my fault for not asking, because they had warned it out. But
so you've come in every day since there's any new walls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and things like that. So yeah, that's the important part of my job is that. And if we went down to the rehearsal room now, you'd see on the floor, I ask for, there's a thing called a markup where they, on the rehearsal room floor in tape, they'll mark up, this is where this bit of set's going to be, and this is where this is going to be when we get on the stage.
So is it raised?
Exactly. So they've used carpet tiles and Velcro and things like that, so that I can feel it under my foot and feel it, so I know where all that sort of stuff is and things like that. And then my scripts, I use what's called the screen reader. So I have my script on an iPad, and I can make it talk to me. So I listen to my script rather than reading it with my eyes.
Learning by listening to it.
Yeah, exactly, and stuff like that. So my process is a little bit different.
Is the voice? Is it a computer voice?
Yeah, it's one of those. I could play it if you want. I could probably, if you give me a second, I could get it.
Because the other option might be something like having Patrick Stewart read it, and then you're going to feel a bit
intimidated. I can't do it as well as that. Yeah, or I just copy him. I just do what he did. Make life easier. But the biggest challenges really that I've faced is that I was, to use one of the cheesy sound bites that I find myself using when talking about this stuff. Like when I went blind, I expected to see the world differently, but I wasn't quite prepared for how differently the world would see me and how differently the world would treat me. And in my career, that presents itself really. I just don't get the same opportunities or the same auditions or the same career possibilities that other people get. Really, I was saying to the guys, actually, one of the reasons this job means quite a lot to me. I was thinking about it the other day. It's one of the first jobs I've had for years that isn't specifically a blind character or specifically a show that's celebrating disabled actors. It's just, this is a mainstream show at Hull Truck, and they just happened to be, I was the actor they wanted to use and that they liked most from the auditions. Really, that's quite rare in my career. But I think it's better in theatre. In TV and film stuff, if you the auditions I get to do TV stuff and for film stuff is always blind man on bench, or blinded soldier number 3 with 2 lines or whatever. And really, that's the biggest frustration and the biggest challenge I have, is that there aren't the same opportunities for blind actors, for disabled actors, and we're really limited in the roles we get seen for, and really limited in the parts we get to play, which can be really, really frustrating. And why it's great to get a job like this where it's just a brilliant character, and it makes sense. We're in a war zone. People would have been injured. People would have been blinded. People would have been deafened or lost an arm or whatever it might be. It makes sense for there to be disabled people present within this world, because that is the accurate truth of war zones.
Can I ask you, when taking you back, you're going blind, you're blind, are you thinking, what the heck do I do now? That's it, as an actor? Exactly
that. I really thought, this is it, I can't do this anymore, and I did give up for a little bit, but thankfully I got dragged back in. Most actors have a story about the time they quit acting, because it's a tough gig. You get tossed around a bit and rejected and all that sort of stuff. I did. I really thought that, and the thing that encouraged me back into the world of acting really was the power of representation, and that's something that really means a lot to me now because of that. So I started seeking out stuff by other disabled theatre makers and actors and filmmakers and whatever it might be, telling their stories, and that's what really showed me that there was a way to do it, and there were ways to make this work, and there were stories that I wanted to tell. And really, I feel really passionate about that now, because whenever I go on stage now as a blind actor with my white stick, I really think about 3 groups of people. I think about the disabled people in the audience who are going to be watching that, and it'll mean a lot to them to have a bit of representation on that stage. I think about the non-disabled people, and some of them might have problematic views, not many, but there are people out there with problematic views about what disabled people can and can't do. I think about them and giving them a bit of a kick up the arse. And then I think about the majority of blind people in particular become blind later in life. So I think about the people in the audience who don't know it yet, but one day it's going to be really useful to them to have seen a blind person on stage being good and, telling the story. Because I think about if I'd seen that when I was a teenager or when I was growing up, and it was just normal to see disabled people on stage or on screen, or blind people on stage on screen, actually I think it would have been much easier for me to make that transition into being a blind person, because it would have been shown to me that it's the norm, that these people exist and we live lives and we live full, interesting lives and have good careers and all that sort of stuff. So I really, really feel the importance of that. And one of my favourite things from my career that's always stuck with me, I did a show, and afterwards I saw a tweet in the days that Twitter, before it became whatever it is now, when it was still Twitter. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, all that. And there was a tweet from someone saying that when I'd walked out on stage, their kid, I think it was like their 7-year-old or something, had said, "Wow, that actor's got a white stick just like my daddy." And the kid was shocked because he'd never seen that before. He'd never seen someone like his dad on stage before. And that really moved me. I thought that was really beautiful, and that really reinforced why I want to do this, why this feels so important to me.
I saw you when you was in of Mice and Men at a truck, weren't you, a few months ago?
Yeah.
And I didn't know you were blind until afterwards. It goes to show, because it's not a blind part in the Mice and Men, is it?
Yeah, I think he's a disabled part. He's someone who's been injured on the farm, but
But he's not blind, is he? And I didn't even know until afterwards. So it goes to show that it's not necessarily obvious, these things.
Yeah, exactly. And people just exist in the world and crack on, and I think it's really important to show that on stage and on screen, that there's not just one type of person in the world. There's lots of us.
We should say at this juncture that Hull Truck have a fair amount of assisted performances to help people.
Absolutely.
Whether you're visually impaired or you've got hearing difficulties.
Yeah, absolutely. So
whatever.
We've got, during the course of the run, we'll have audio described performances. I believe that's on the matinee of Saturday the 14th on Valentine's Day. What awaits us around Valentine's Day with some murder and witches and all that sort of thing.
I come to the relaxed performances.
Yeah, relaxed performances are great.
Phone calls.
Yeah. Not exactly what they're
It's an ideal opportunity, isn't it?
I think you've misinterpreted the word relaxed. Turns up in his Bermuda shorts and his flip-flops as well.
I do a few phone calls, then I have a nap. It's nice to get in on the cold.
Benjamin was doing so well, though, to deliver all the stuff, and you've come in with a song and dance.
Well, yeah, we've got audio described performances, we've got relaxed performances. If people don't know what relaxed performances is, it's specifically designed for learning disabled people or neurodivergent people. So some of the louder sound effects are turned down. We leave the house lights on a bit so that people can come and go if people need to go out and come back in again, and there are other little changes like that. So relaxed performances are great. There's also then captioned performances and BSL, sign language interpreted performances as well. So yeah, all the full shebang.
Right, all there for you.
That's great.
And do check the website for all the ticket details. It's running from the 5th to the 28th of February. I like this from Jenny in HU13, which is Hesel, my manor. What's your favourite everyday word or phrase that Shakespeare invented? Jenny likes swagger.
Yeah, swagger's great. Done, yeah. That's really good. I love the phrases and more than the words, maybe, because the words, I think, the Shakespeare is like the first recorded version of those words. So like it could be that Shakespeare invented them, or it could be that they were just like common words at the time. Shakespeare was the first person to write them down. Yeah. So things like, it blows my mind. Words like generous. Shakespeare is the first recorded use of the word generous. And kissing, so you could say Shakespeare invented kissing. Well, he invented the word kissing, which is mad. That's crazy. But they could have been like everyday common words that were being used all the time, but Shakespeare was the first person to write them down. Yeah. But that's why I love the phrases, because the phrases are undeniable that Shakespeare invented them. Things like wild goose chase. Shakespeare invented that. Yeah. Isn't that great? And flesh and blood, for describing someone as your own flesh and blood. That's Shakespeare invented that. And
my nana used to quote me some great phrases. Yeah. She was like the Shakespeare of our family. Yeah. My favourite one of hers was, "Never trust the lass from East Hull."
Is there a play about it? Probably is.
We'll get all commissioned.
I've lived by that my entire life, and he's seen me right.
Fair enough. Yeah, the phrases in Macbeth that I love. I love when you're in rehearsals for playing, you're saying a phrase and you realise, oh, this is that phrase being invented. But like really common ones in Macbeth, things like the be all and end all, that's from Macbeth. Yeah. And what's done is done.
So trying to be seamless and looking at the stopwatch, the CuriosityCast stopwatch.
Oh yeah.
What's done is done.
There we go.
I'm afraid.
That's where they pay you the big bucks.
Am I meant to get paid, Benjamin? Do you do any agent work on the sidelines?
I know a guy. I'll tell you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. have a fantastic run of Macbeth at Hull Truck. It's running from the 5th to the 28th of February. Benjamin Wilson has been our guest on this edition of the Curiosity Cast. Do remember to keep in touch with us via curiosityhull.co.uk, www. by the way at the front of that, or follow and friend us on the socials where we're Curiosity Hull on all the main feeds. We'll be back very soon with more quality answers to whatever question you'd like to ask.